Hello, thank you very much for inviting me to this conference. And my topic is generative AI and how to use it in order to design education simulation in big language models. I am representing here our education model Aignos, and at the same time I am doing my doctoral thesis and doctoral studies focused on impact of AI on our society, and I would like to present outcomes of a smaller project for education experts and teachers. I believe that most of you used ChatGPT, but I think that not all of you know what the GPT in ChatGPT means. When I ask this question, people during my various presentations, most of the people don't know. So the GPT is a abbreviation of a generative pre-trained transformer. So this is a name of a technology which is the engine of this generative AI. But what I am more interested in is the fact that this is also an abbreviation for generally purpose technology. And what this means, it is a technology which from the beginning has a large space for improvement, and at the end becomes widely used and has many side effects. So these GPTs, they have a great potential to change our society quite drastically, and they have a huge impact on our existing economic and social structure. I believe you know these technologies. It can be semiconductors, steam engines, and AI is the kind of technology or it's from the family of technologies that change the society. So we should not look for guide and instructions how to use AI. We should simply use it. We should also know more about it in broader aspects, and we should know what it can do. So just an illustration of what it can do. For example, professional writing. It doesn't surprise anybody. The fact that it can solve creative tasks, it doesn't surprise anybody either. But what surprised me lately was that it can provide quite empathic answers on professional questions, for example, from therapy practices. It can also help with cognitive reassessment when we understand some situation as dangerous. It can change. It can change, for example, the negative impact of some experience. So I myself, I am a graduate of strategic communication, and I must admit that it is very good in pervasive communication. It can also provide us with really good feedback. And what is very interesting that I would like to introduce more is language models. And the language models can be used as a kind of substrate for economic, social, and psychological studies. And this is something I am really interested in, and I'm beginning to use it more in my work. When I was talking about strategic communication, I have noticed that ChatGPT can limit conspirational thinking at 20% of audience. What next? I would like to discuss is generative AI as a simulator. It can be an environment for some type of simulation. And here I would like to show you some practical examples. And I would like to show you how this kind of simulation can be coded or programmed by you directly. Before I get into the large language models, I would like to show you that the tools like code, for example, can provide environment for something called vibe coding. This is a big trend now, and you can use it without the knowledge of coding or programming, and you can yourself create a interactive application. And here is an example called Claude 3.7 Sonnet, which I use for example, finding what is the geopolitical background of various political subjects. And on the basis of what Claude has prepared for me, I wanted to prepare a 20-step simulation of a global conflict. I also wanted to base this on some paper studies, and I think you yourself can try this. You can yourself try how you would manage various situations if you were a global leader and you had environment like this, and you would be able to check if you as the leader would lead the world to the next era of Cold War, or if you were able to secure peace. You can use various tools such as Lovable, which is a tool that is quite commonly used now and has a good capacity to generate something visually interesting. So now the simulations. These are simulations in LLM, the large language models. I will now be presenting you the ChatGPT AI, but this works also in our environment, such as Gemini or others. This is a result or outcome of our small project, which is focused on education, and it is based on a framework which deals with AI as a facilitator for learning in some type of interactive education. I myself teach a subject called AI in strategic communication, so I wanted to prepare educational role plays which would provide the students with interactive training facility where the situations would be simulated on the basis of information provided by professionals from the field. So I spoke to experts and they helped me with this simulation. I'm going to show you what the methodic pages look like. They are based on Bloom taxonomy and are focused on educational goals, competencies. They have a scenario in it, and every simulation has its own ChatGPT assistant. If you have the paid version of ChatGPT, it will be able to help you with that, and you can share it with others. And there are also additional materials. This is what the final simulation looks like on one slide. There is a graph and there is a description. It looks relatively simple, where you have the educational goals and key competences, and there is the prompt. I will not be reading you everything, but then the simulation can also work like this, and I try to make it as real as possible. So the participant who will run the simulation will see that he will get a notification and he will have to react to the notification. So this specific situation is, let's say, hypothetical. Imagine that a group of hacktivists will attack you and will find bad practices of your company, and your goal is to survive the situation and fight back. The prompts have a specific structure. There's always introduction to the situation, rules of the simulation, because every situation that the participant goes through is different. We specifically code that every situation is different. There are also rules how the ChatGPT should communicate, how many rounds there are, if it is 5 rounds, 10 rounds. There are also rules of communication, rules of assessment, what type of feedback should the ChatGPT give to the participant. There are also important principles such as the ChatGPT cannot give the answer to the participant, so it must be fully based on his own skills and knowledge. So we don't have to talk about this. There are other specific scenarios such as hypothetical cooperation with an influencer, and this influencer, female or male, mentions something which is not in line with our values, the values of our company, and we, as the members of the strategic communication team, must fix the situation and must revert the crisis. So the environment is the typical ChatGPT. But what is interesting here is that we can put in some other good material, and the simulation starts, and we can offer the participants some knowledge background, some study material, so that he would not have any clues. Maybe you noticed that about a month ago there was a study published called AI 2027, and this study deals with the question what the world will look like if we do not manage to keep the development of AI under control. And we have prepared a simulation on the basis of this study, where the task of the participant is to be a member of an advisory team of a global leader who has to ethically and strategically manage the development of AI, so that we do not get into scenarios which are in these predictions. If you want to make a simulation like this by yourself, I have prepared for you this simulator, which is an interactive guide for preparation of scenarios. And you know, the ChatGPT always asks you who you are, who do you want the simulation prepare for, what is the cognitive level of your simulation, and if you want to provide some sources that the participants must use in the simulation, how many situations you want to prepare, and what is your specific idea?
If you want, here's the QR code once again. Feel free to use it, or you can find it in ChatGPT store. What led me to this is an argumentation simulator called the Debateer. You can also try it. This is something that I have been using for quite a while now. And I use it as an example of what educational simulators can look like. Lots of people have tried it out, from elementary school students all the way to senior universities. If you feel like having an argument with AI, you can do so here. This is just a brief introduction of the structure. And some guide how to create such a simulation. There are several steps from setting the roles, step-by-step instructions, how it should act, educators' approach, some limits, and some additional knowledge required. These simulations are not fully risk-free. There are many risks to AI-generated simulations, and I'm sure you will hear about some of them later on. I will just pinpoint a few that are important in the context of simulations. Large language models often incorrectly represent demographic groups. It's not a true mirror of reality. It is a simulation that can be somewhat shallow or flat. And the entities that you are dealing with don't necessarily act as they would in real life. And as I have said, you can use any language model that you want. They all behave differently, and that is another risk that is hidden in the selection. A tool, DeepSeek, became quite well known. It is known for its political manipulation. So if you were to make a simulation, a political simulation there, it would perhaps not be the wisest choice. So beware of what tools you use. They all have their own personality. But I think if you use ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, you will not miss, or of course Copilot as well. One thing that I would also like to mention is that the tools, and generative AI as such, because of its training on large data sets, implicitly contains a lot of biases based on gender, ethnicity, cultural background, age, etc. And these biases are already contained in the data. But you as users can also support the bias by biased prompting. And these tools then tend to amplify the bias, and you can get into a very strenuous situation and push the language models into very interesting situations or positions that are not exactly standard. So if you want to use it in education, beware of this fact or factor, and perhaps you should also notify the educators that this may be an issue. We also run a podcast, Human in an AI Era. You can watch it on Spotify. And if you are interested in something, you can link with me in LinkedIn. I think I met my time allotment, and I'm very much looking forward to any questions if there are any. I think there are a lot of questions. I will try to summarize them, but I would like to follow up a little bit more on the bias. That is something that I'm very interested in. Political situation is an incredibly complex scenario. The history is written by the victors. History is interpreted through different lenses, and the language model learns from all this. Do you need to train it a little or rein it in a little bit in various situations? Because diplomatic talk is a little bit different from real-world reactions and actions. Sometimes we say not exactly what we mean. Of course, it is a tricky thing. We cannot exactly steer the language model behavior the way we want to, but the master prompt, in the master prompt, you can mention that it shouldn't be like a nice friend that praises for everything, or that it should not stand for such a political standpoint that we all should love another. You should tell it that it should be a debating opponent that would try and beat you in the debate. You can, of course, influence it like this, but we cannot, of course, fully simulate human reactions. That's not even the purpose of this. But it is good to prepare the students to approach it critically and to evaluate it critically. And if they see some sort of discrepancy, to even look why that arose. When we learn the model, when we look at all the statements from various groups, we also need to factor in that the statements and proclamations are not necessarily based on reality. There's all sorts of layers that maybe uncover themselves later on, because, like I said, a history is written by perhaps somebody else. So isn't the simulation of a global conflict affected by this group said that they would attack here, and in fact they attacked there? Yes, you've hit upon a crucial problem. This is unpredictable. If this were predictable, the countries themselves would already be using it, which they actually might, but not in the way that we have selected for education, or that we are using for education. Of course, you do need to use critical thinking and not abandon real world for the simulation fully. Ideally, you should also get together in a group, evaluate, discuss why this happened or that happened, how the model reacted, and evaluate that also. I would like to ask, what differentiates simulation from real-life cases when you're using AI in education? I'm not exactly sure where you were aiming with this question. The simulations are always a means to teach. It's something that should add another aspect to the teaching. It is not there to replace other teaching methods, or it's not something that should replace final thesis or something. It is something that can make the teaching more interactive and give the topic being taught a different viewpoint, and perhaps show it from a light that intrigues from some other aspect. When we look at the simulations, that's a very good chatbot that you're chatting with. How far into the future is it to include other media, audio, video, pictures, etc.? These models are already gearing towards multimodality. ChatGPT 4.0 already works with pictures. You can generate pictures in the language model. I think this will be more and more intertwined. We will have some video elements, sound elements. You can already talk to ChatGPT in your own language, in the voice mode, and talk to it naturally. So at least from my perspective, I think this is the direction in which things are going. In your lecture, you mentioned having an argument with AI, and you mentioned that different generations have a different approach to such arguing. Do you maybe have some interesting examples? Maybe I will now be a little bit stereotypical about large language models, but my testing showed that Gemini does best in really getting into the role. Claude is more chatty. It writes a lot of text and talks around. And ChatGPT is somewhere in the middle ground. It tries to stick to the instructions as best as possible, but also sometimes writes something extra, and it just loves to give praise, which is a good thing, but it may not necessarily be the main objective there. When we were talking about the simulations, very often, and I'm thinking from the client viewpoint now a little bit, it often happens that new employees need to go through work safety training, etc. Would this also be a way to go? Try out how would you react in this situation, etc. And not in terms of a multiple choice test, but really give them a situation and say how they would say how they would react in a factory setting, etc. Exactly what I was talking about is fitted to the academia or like elementary schools, high schools, etc. But of course it is applicable in the commercial sphere as well. In terms of onboarding new employees, crisis situation management training, of course it can be used for such interactive training. I'm sorry, we are running out of time. You stuck to the timing beautifully. We don't do it as well as you do, but it was very interesting. Thank you very much for the lecture. I was very happy to hear the new information.